Hi, glad you made it to Abaqus, and we'll talk about the sheet folding example today. This was presented in the theoretical part of the tutorial before. So check this out to get an idea of what we're going to do. Otherwise, you know how to start. We'll set up the work directory. See here, Abaqus tutorial 1, and then we'll have the sheet folding. We specify this as our work directory. We'll save right away, so the folded sheet, CAE. All right, as I said before, we'll again start with the part. And now it's important, as I said before, it's a 2D deformable body. Yes, so we'll work in a 3-dimensional space. But the base feature is shell. And then we will check extrusion here. So we talked about this in the previous video. Okay, let's do the drawing on this super fast computer. We will use this time create arc through 3 points, because now we can check the first one is 0, 0, 0. The second one is, as I said, 60, 0. And then the one specifying the top is 30, 20. Okay, so this should give us exactly the desired shape for our initial sheet. I keep it simple, and so we specify 200 here as extrusion. So hopefully your model that you just created looks pretty similar to what you can see here. And we continue, of course, with the meshing of the part. It's still indicated as empty. We use an approximate size of 10 in this case. And in some things like curvature control, we will talk about in more detail when it actually makes sense to talk about this. All right, so we will mesh the entire part. Yep. And then we can check, and now we actually use, I hope you can see this here, it says in the icon it says S4R, it says always the time, so but now we're actually using the S4R element. And yeah, we can start with this. Unchecking reduced integration would make it an S4 element, go in quadratic would make it S8. And here you can see that membrane strain is small, so it's R5. We talked about this in the theory part. And you see you have here hourglass control, so going to it enhanced here will definitely help to control hourglassing if that is a problem. So just that you know. Okay, as for our elements, we are satisfied. The materials, yes. Let's call it alu mechanical. It has some funny elastic properties, weak material. We'll add some plasticity. We have insert row after twice. We start at, what did I say? Let's say 250, 0, go up to 300 at 0.05, and then the curve, so to say, flattens out at 601. All right, so we can maybe now, if we create such a material library, we can call it tutorials, save it in current, and then we can put alu from our current material model list into the into the material library. We can save the changes, and hopefully in the future we'll be able to quickly re-access this material model. But usually I'm a lazy dude, so I forget to use the library. Yeah, okay, actually the library is good for lazy people, but so that you can get used to creating material models. I think we'll do it maybe one more in the future. Otherwise you can just forward or skip this section all the time. All right, next on is the section definition, and yep, this time we switch to shells. Here you see, here you can access this super funny special purpose type. So we didn't talk about composites and general shell stiffness because it's probably even more rarely used. So in our case, the shell will behave homogeneously, but as a shell, we define 1 as the thickness. The material is aluminum. And here you see the thickness integration point. So I hope you remember we talked about the fact that there is still a calculation going on in the thickness direction. So this is the number of integration points over the thickness. And this has quite of a high importance when it comes to artificial energy and hourglassing. So 5 is a good start. However, if you have problems regarding hourglassing, changing to enhanced hourglass control, or maybe just going up if you have more complex material models, it might be also interesting to have more thickness integration points here. We'll keep the rest as it is. And then we, of course, next step is assign the section. And yep, we see our section 1, and it's using aluminum. And here you have the option to change between thickness from section or from geometry, but you rarely model a 3-dimensional geometry with a true shell element. So you should usually ignore this and only model 2-dimensional geometries with a true conventional shell element. So here is the thing we often talked about, the shell offset. This is what I call reference definition. And as I said, middle surface is the default. We will keep this as it is for now. And however, I hope we can now take a look at view, and then I hope it's part display option, and then render shell thickness, not rel thickness. So if we now apply it, here you can see it, here you can nicely see it. Now the actual thickness is modeled, it's only visually modeled in our GUI, but what's also cool is that the reference surface is depicted. So hopefully, if we change from middle to top surface here, yeah, you see now that the reference surface is on the bottom of it, and if we now change to bottom surface, yep, so this is now, it depends also on the orientation of your sheet, so what is viewed as the inside and outside. So now you view, so we defined bottom surface now, so it's viewed from top to bottom in this case, so it thinks that this is the bottom. It depends on the orientation of your sheet. If we would probably have constructed it the other way around, bottom and top surface would have changed position. However, you should always check this and make sure that you choose the right reference surface. We'll switch back to middle surface. However, since we don't have any special contacts going on, it's not that important in our case. All right, let's go to assembly. As again, simple example for a start. Just just one instance. That's basically it. And we can continue creating a step, which is again a static general step. Of course, we'll check energy on because this is what we came for, right? Put some more increments here. The initial set as 100, the maximum is 1/10 of the total. Whoop, no, dude. So I use these values always given that my overall time period is 1. So if I, as I pointed out, if I give a velocity of -50 for a sheet that it's 60 millimeters in width, so it will move to a 10 millimeter distance over the course of 1 simulation second, so to say. Field outputs. Yeah, I mentioned that we should include some aspects. So if we go to the volume, thickness, and coordinates, we can check element volume and section thickness, for example. And then for the stresses, we can also include the average shell section stress. So it's S. Okay, now I understand why they used SSAVG instead of as the abbreviation. All right. So, and for the strains, we can also include the section strains and curvature if we are interested in analyzing this. Okay, 1 picture at every increment, that's also okay with me. And then we continue, we go down to the boundary conditions. We use the pinning or encastering to fix the left side. And here it will make, it's easily understandable that it will make a huge difference if I pin it or if I encaster it. Because think about it, if I pin it, okay, these nodes cannot move in a spatial direction, but if I move the entire thing around it, this is still a valid movement. So let's start with let's start with pinning here. And the second one is the velocity in x direction. And I'll define it as a velocity. It's on the right edge and I want to be in full control of what's going on. So the only thing that it is allowed to do is to move by -50 mm per unit time to the left. No movement, no rotation at all. And we should be all set up now so we can create a job. If I forgot anything, it's said that you cannot tell me right now, but maybe you can edit yourself. So we have folded sheet. We used the S4R element. We used energy geometry on, and then we used pinned on the left and fixed velocity on the right. So we'll start this job and see what Abaqus tells us. In the meantime, before we can see something in the monitor, we can already, for example, change the boundary condition on the left to encaster. And now I create a job which is folded sheet S4R energy geometry on its encaster left and fixed well on the right. And now we additionally keep the rotation and degrees of freedom open, so it's now fs as for our energy on. It's still in caster on the left, and now it's a free rod on the right. So it definitely helps if you do not write this down somewhere, what you did in the jobs that you're comparing, to really give very useful name to all the jobs. And I hope you see my mistake. So I forgot to run the simulation, this one, before I changed the boundary conditions. So I both started them now, so they both will yield the same result. So I definitely have to go. So now my current model configuration belongs to this one. However, this one will now show the same results as a free rod right boundary condition. So now we will definitely fix it again and then restart the simulation, because now my naming really reflects what's going on in the model and vice versa. And if I now submit it, it asks me, yeah, I want to override it in this case. It's good that I can show you guys. Yes, I want to override it, but now I should know that my model corresponds to this job, so to say. This would not have happened, so to say, if I would have created a model, a copy of the model, and only link one job to each model. But you know, I'm lazy, so I usually don't do this. And it keeps this CIE a little cleaner.